My name is Artur, yeah, and I'm a senior quality assurance engineer at Yalantis. Also, I am a tech lead on a project and have a philosophy degree in applied math. And also, I like to travel on a motorcycle. So if you want to see cool photos about motor travels, you can join and follow me on Instagram. And if you want to chat for some work, you can find me in a LinkedIn. Here is the links. And today, I would like to talk about situations when it is necessary to test an application, but we do not have any suitable test data. There can be many reasons for that. For example, first, there is no implementation of functionality at all. For example, you have an application for paying for parcels, but for some reasons, there is no endpoint to create this parcel. And on a test environment, the backend returns always the same list of parcels. The second one may be when the backend developers delay development very much, but at the same time, we have like response model that the client expects. Another one is when we have like encrypted client-side databases, which cannot be accessed to create any test data. But testing is still necessary. And today, we will find out how to solve these problems and how actually to mock data that we need. So here's our agenda for today's talk. And first of all, there will be a brief overview of tools like Fiddler or Charles. Next, we will consider the top 10 reasons why I cannot see any traffic from my mobile device. After that, we will have some fun, some practical examples and scenarios for testing mobile applications with the data that we need, and as well how to check the behavior of application in some stressful situations, like when the server sends some unhandled errors or the server is not available at all. And the last one will be, we will know why manual QA should know how to use Android Studio and how it may be helpful for us. So yeah, as we all know, most applications work on a client-server architecture principles. Yeah, so we have a client like a browser, desktop application, or mobile phone that sends requests to the server, and server processes it and gives some responses. And we, as QoS testers, yeah, we need to know what data the client sends and what data was returned from the server, to find like cause of the issue that happened and to define whether it's client or server issue. So therefore, we need to watch all the traffic that client sends and gets. And in a browser, it is pretty simple. Yeah, we should press F12 button to open, for example, developer tools, go to network tab, and all traffic will be there. But what about the mobile? And the solution for this task is to use sniffer tools such Charles or Fiddler. And actually, there are a lot other tools for viewing traffic, but today we will talk more about Fiddler and Charles. And first, my question is, who is already familiar with Charles or Fiddler? Put some text in a chat or some emotion in a spatial. Yeah, I see several people's already familiar, but for another, maybe it will be useful information how it works. So let's find out, yeah, how it works. Sniffing application tools, it is tool that allows you to view all traffic from a client. For example, a mobile phone or web application or even desktop application, and it works like a proxy server. A simplified diagram is shown on a slide, so we can view all requests that the client sends, and if it's necessary for us, we can edit it, and then we can do the same with responses. So we can view it, and if we need it, we can edit as well. And Fiddler and Charlie's have excellent setup tutorials in which everything is described very, very well. In a nutshell, it is, first of all, you should install it, Charles or Fiddler. Next one, you should configure a proxy server. It is your desktop. And after that, you should configure a client. It is browser or mobile phone. And you may think that everything is extremely simple and what can go wrong? But anything can happen. And very often I hear this phrase that nothing works for me when in a company I gave some task to newcomer to learn how Fiddler or Charles works. And 99 of these problems are directly associated with the tester, because he or she, like this young man on the picture, put a stick in his wheel and does not notice that he missed some step in this tutorial. So in effect, not only like young testers, but also sometimes very experienced seniors make those mistakes also. For example, when a new device arrives to company, they miss some step. Why? Because usually you do not configure the devices so often, and you may miss something because like of human factor. Yeah, all we are humans and all we make mistakes. And let's consider top 10 reasons why it fails on example on a Fiddler application. And one clarification that now Fiddler has a little updated his interface and becomes paid, but you can also use a free version. It is called Fiddler Classic, so you can download it and use it. So the first one, in case you do not see any traffic at all, many people usually forgot to press this button like capture traffic, and solution is pretty simple. You go to options, go to file and enable this button. Yeah, the next one, sometimes we forgot to allow decryption of traffic, and that's why we do not see any readable data. Yeah, so solution for it, you go to options, go to HTTPS tab and check the decrypt HTTPS traffic. The third one, when you try everything and nothing still works for you, sometimes a complete reset will help. So we should reload all the certificates, and then we should go through all the steps again, and everything should definitely work. The next one, sometimes QAs forgot to enable connection of remote devices, and that's why they don't see any traffic. So the solution, again, is pretty simple. Go to options, go to connection tab and check the allow remote computers to connect. The next one is very interesting also. One important point that, first of all, you should turn your Wi-Fi on, and Also, you should connect to the same network with your PC or laptop, because I had cases when the testers came with a Wi-Fi, turn it off, and said why it wasn't show any traffic, or when a person came with a phone connected to another network and said that nothing was working, or even forgot to turn on Wi-Fi and tried to sniff air traffic with a mobile internet. Also, you may ask how to find your IP. Yeah, it is again pretty simple. In a Fiddler, on a top right corner, you can see a tip with your IP address, or you can open a command line and enter ipconfig. The next one is a very frequent case when people installed the Fiddler and came with non-configured Wi-Fi and said again that it wasn't working at all. To solve this, you need to open the Wi-Fi settings, go to advanced mode, and then you should pick a manual proxy and enter the IP address of your PC and proxy port. Usually it 4.8. The next one is my favorite. Sometimes people forgot to install this certificate, and it is not enough to configure only a proxy server on a Wi-Fi. You also need to download the certificate, but download certificate also need to be installed. So we should go to settings and open downloaded profiles and install it. And the next one, we also need to enable permissions to trust this certificate. And the last one is like more global problem. For Android version 6 and above, sometimes the developers forgot to enable sniffing, and it is better to say like they forgot to allow trusting application to user certificates. And to allow this, you need to create a file, enter this text on it. And this file is like literally allows the application to trust the user certificates. Also, you should save this file and place a link for that file in Android manifest file, and of course, rebuild an application. So after all this, everything should work fine. And now let's talk about some practice and fun. And to make examples like clearer, I took the ones application that was on my phone, and people from Ukraine, I think, heard about them. But anyway, you can find it in a Play Market or App Store. And after presentation, can also check these examples. So let's consider this application. When we open it, we see some cities, yeah, and some cinemas. And at this moment, as a curious testers, yeah, we should ask yourself a question: what will happen if there is no cities, yeah, or how the layout behaves if the names or the cities are too long, yeah. And for this, we need to understand how the cities came to our application. And there is two ways, yeah. First is like non-scalable. It is hardcode them, yeah. But when we will need to add a new city, we will need to rebuild an application and then republish it to stores. So the more scalable way is to get them from a server. To check this, let's connect our application to Fiddler and try to sniffer traffic when we open this application. Yeah, when the application starts. So when we open application, we will see some request for cities, and there we will see our cities. Yes, we see like array of objects, and the red arrow show the name of the city. Next, we need to enable a breakpoint after response, since we want to change some data in already received data. Yeah, and after that, we should upload application from memory, like when you swipe up application and reopen the required screen again. And at this moment, application will send a request for cities. Breakpoint will be triggered, and at this moment, we can replace our city for something else, like abracadabra, blah, 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 Kryvyi Rih, for example. And we see our result. The text will overlap the icon. A little smells, yeah. So I think we have a low priority, but this is issue. Let's go next and ask ourselves what it will be if there is no cities at all. These applications does not give any like empty state for user. And the same with the cinemas. Nothing happens. I choose some city which have no cinemas in it, but I don't understand the screen. I only see an empty field. And it would be great to add some text like, sorry, there is no cinemas in this city, wait for building. And this will be a better user experience than an empty dropdown. Yeah. The next example is case that you may face while you will mock data through breakpoints. You may see this message. It will be shown because you exceeded the server response. And on the client application, developers like make delay for 5, 10, 15 seconds. And if during this time the response from the server does not came, then the client application stops waiting for response and show that message. And what now? So how to solve this? And we have, of course, a solution. This feature called Autoresponder in a Fiddler, or map local feature in a Charlize. Does anyone familiar with this feature in Fiddler or Charlize? Put some reaction. I don't see any reactions. Okay, so yeah, see one. Great. So let's continue. First of all, we need to prepare a JSON file. It is based on our response model, and we need to remove everything that we do not need and left like the data that we need. Then we need to add a rule for mocking. Firstly, we should define what address we will mock and put it on the first red arrow. And this filter also supports like regular expressions. And for example, you can specify not only specific URL, but URLs that contains like some text, for example. Also, be sure to turn on the check for unmatched request pass-through. So this will allows you to other request be ignored. next one, we should make like this request again. So we should open application again to trigger this request. And we will see that Fiddler has already changed it automatically. We will see like purple in a list request. And this means that Fiddler automatically changes the data for it. And this is a result, so looks nice, I think. Another interesting case that is usually forgotten to check is how the application reacts to unhandled server errors. For example, when the server sends 500 error, yeah, or another one when the server is not available at all and sends 503 status code, yeah. And you can call this person to help us make the server unavailable, but it will be probably expensive and not entirely correct, yeah. And we as a cool testers now will know how to emulate this behavior. And here again, we have an Autoresponder feature, which has a like set of templates for each statuses, and we can use it. But most applications will behave like this, so they will be crashed. Crashes are very, very, very bad. And let's change a couple of like this application. It is Mist Express. Maybe someone used it, and if in this application we change it a couple requests for 500 error and try to create an order, as you see, a couple of requests will send an error and application will be crashed. But not ours application, because we are cool testers, and we will show like something like this empty state, like that tells us that now we have some server issues, try again later, or something like that. Or at least something like this message. It is showing this message is always better than a crash. But what if the internet connection is bad? Because the network coverage for mobile devices is not always good, yeah, and applications always should give some feedback to users, yeah. And the easiest way for Fiddler is to set some delay for number of milliseconds before each request, yeah. There is also a more complicated way when we put a delay on receiving each kilobyte of information, but we will not consider it. The usually delay is pretty enough for checking loaders. And then we should turn on the simulation of modem speed, and we will show beautiful loaders like in this application on the top. So there you can see some loaders. Again, we open application, and on the top we see some loaders. It is better than nothing. So what else? What else can we apply? Yeah. First one, we can now test the long lists. Yeah, because Android application has some issues when you fast scrolls a long list, and they may have some glitches or even crashes. The next case we can check is to check an empty states, like when server returns an empty arrays or empty fields like null, 0, or empty string or something like that. Also, we can check the behavior for invalid formats, like when application is waiting for screen from server, but received a number, or vice versa, or received even an object or an array. Yeah, we can check now this. And the last one, if for some reason we get an invalid JSON, and usually 99% of such issues will not be fixed, since it's really edge case, but it is interesting to check anyway. Yeah, and but of course, all these situations was when we received the data from the server. But what if the data received not from the server? And I think we all understand how application works when you close it. Yeah, I mean, when you unload it from memory. Yeah? When the application is open, the code is currently being executed and all like temporary variables are available. But as soon as we unload application from memory, everything is erased. And here is the question. Imagine we are logging into application. We entered our email, our password, tap for some login button, and then server gives us an authorization token. Yes. And next, we close application or even unload it from memory and reopen it again. And for somehow application remembers our authorization token, and we do not need to log in again. Magic. Or another example, we have like shopping cart in application. Yeah, and imagine we added some jeans, some t-shirt to cart. Again, unload application from memory, open it back, and for somehow our jeans and t-shirt are still there, even if the internet was disconnected during this process. Again, magic. Or one more example. Let's say we have an application that works exclusively offline. For example, application for storing some notes. Yeah, and how to check how this application will behave when we have like tens of thousands of these nodes. Yeah, interesting. And there is a local storage mechanism for this. For Android application, we have 3 ways. First, it is shared preferences. It is XML file with a key value. The second one is to use local databases. And the last one is to use like files, like text files, or even without any else files. Yeah. For iOS application, it is almost the same. We can also use local databases. We can use user defaults file. It is file with extension plist. It is the same XML file like shared preference in Android applications. And wait a moment. Oh, oops. Something happened. Sorry. Sorry, some technical issues. Give me 5 seconds, please. Yeah, sorry. My computer is kind of strange today. Yeah, and for iOS application, yeah, as I told, we can use also keychain. It is like secure databases for iOS applications. And the last one is also use files. And let's take a closer look how we can use this knowledge in testing on example of Android application. And first, we need to find out the package name of our application. And you can ask a developer for it, but what if he got sick? Next, you can try to guess. Yeah, really, often package names are very similar to name of application itself. But the most correct way is to find out by ourselves. Yeah, and first of all, to do this, we need to install Android Studio and also ADB. It is Android Debug Bridge. It is a console application that allows us to run many commands that helps in testing, like reading logs, taking videos, taking screenshot, enable like different settings for Wi-Fi and GPS configuration, and etc. And has anyone familiar with ADB put some reaction or something like that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, okay. So after you install the ADB, we should like enter this text in a command line, and we will receive some response where the bold and underlined part is the package name of our applications. This command is literally ask application to give the activity that in the focus that is opened now. And after that, we need to open Android Studio, connect, of course, our device, and on the right panel, we will see the device explorer, and there we need to find our package name of our application. Then we should expand it, and we will see everything that's stored locally on the device. So there can be some cache, some databases, some files, some shared preferences. And for example, the shared preferences will look like this. Yeah. And you can also may ask like, what can be stored there? We can store there, for example, an authorization token, or for example, the state of our screen, or even fields. For example, when you edit a user profile and like you change the gender, the name, and without saving these changes, yeah, you close or unload the application from memory and open it again, and you will see that all changes that you done are still filled. So this information may be stored in the shared preference. And actually, any other stuff based on your business requirements can be stored there. So let's have some fun again and like apply our knowledge. Yeah. So let's imagine some application that works exclusively offline, and on the right top corner, we see some button with some text. And we know that, for example, this text comes not from the server, but for some business logic in application. And let's try to test this button. First of all, we need to find where this text is stored. And for example, we open the shared preferences and we see this text in a location Frankfurt, for example. Then we should save this shared preference on our PC or laptop. After that, we should edit it. And the very important moment, we should close the application. Then we should delete previous one and upload new one. And after that, we should open application again, and a new text will be shown on this button. Great. Then we can check how this button will behave to like empty text or to a long text or something else. What else could be there? Database. The database may contain like our shopping cart example or list of nodes. What can we do with databases? The same as with a shared preference. Why do we need it? For example, to generate like 10,000 of nodes, yeah, and to check how the application will behave. And of course, you may ask, will it always be that simple? Unfortunately, but no. But we have some like advices how to solve these problems. And first problem we may face is application must be only in a debug mode. Otherwise, you will see a message that sorry, but not today. And the solution is ask for access to repository, learn how to pull the build from the repository, open it in like Android Studio. Then you should pick the build variant like debug mode and rebuild it ourselves again, and everything will work. The second one is databases should be without any encryption, because if developers use encryption in databases, you will not see any in a readable format. And the solution is communication with developers, or it can be using one static key in the debug builds, or not using it at all in any like encryption debug builds. And thank you all. Thank you for your attention. I hope my presentation will be useful to you, and after it you will go and try at least a couple of examples on your own application, and you will definitely find issues that developers did not suspect before. And summarizing all this, I want to know that today we have learned how to properly configure Fiddler, find how to use Autoresponder feature in a Fiddler, and how to mock the data that we need. Also, we have learned how to check the client application for some server errors. Also, we learned a little about how and where the local data is stored on the device and how we may use it for testing.